Hey guys, my name is Brendy, and this is a totally awkward video, and I am 100% outside of my comfort zone right now. But I wanted to just share a few tips with you guys. Most of you know that I've been dealing with some sort of insurance drama for about 2 years straight, and my sister suggested that I make some sort of video and see if some of the things that I've learned the past 2 years can help somebody. I'm not obviously paid by any insurance company, and I found that the tips that I found online were either completely unhelpful, or I got the impression that the tips were really written by an insurance company, not having the best interest of the patient in mind. So there's no strings attached to this advice. I'm just a mom who worked really hard to get through the insurance mess and the paperwork. So I'm hoping if this can help just one family save a few extra $100 or a few $1,000s, then I'll be pretty excited. So medical bills is the #1 reason why people normally declare bankruptcy. They get out of control fast. And insurance companies, I'm convinced, make sure that it is as complicated as possible to discourage you. So they don't want you to be successful in getting things authorized, getting things approved, finding the appropriate doctors. They want this to be an expensive process. When I was in the thick of one of these particular battles, I remember thinking, I'm doing this between 5 and 7 hours a day. Staying up until midnight or 1 a.m. working on this. How does a single mom do this? How does two working parents, how do they manage this? And I got so frustrated for the families who didn't have time to do this. I barely had the time, and I was spending time that I wanted to be I wanted to be spending with my new baby, my family, but instead I was messing with this stuff. So if any of this can help any of you avoid that mess, I'm happy about that. So first thing, I wanted to just come right out and say, a lot of times I hear, well, you're just really organized and I could never do that. And so I want to just lovingly say to you that that is a cop-out. That's just not an acceptable response. Other people are gifted in other areas. I tend to be gifted administratively, but that does not mean that you get a pass on trying to keep track of this. Insurance companies want you to be disorganized. So just because you naturally bend towards being disorganized doesn't mean that you can just lift your hands up and say, I can't do this. You can do this, and hopefully I can give you some tips on how to tackle this problem. So these tips are things that I specifically did, and these are ways that I won some of these battles with the insurance company. So first things first, absolutely no question about it. You've got to get everything in writing. I mean, everything in writing. Even the things that are easy, doesn't matter. You have to get it in writing. Things that you don't feel will be a problem, get it in writing. And what do you mean by everything? I mean the person's name, the department you're talking to, the department you're being referred to. You have got to write down absolutely everything that they tell you. Now, the most important thing that you want to write down is something that they will not volunteer to you. You've got to ask for it. You need to ask for a tracking number, a confirmation number, or an incident report number. Those are the 3 things they normally call them. That is basically your key to that conversation. Different insurance companies call it different things, but they have some sort of a system to track. If you don't get that number and you call back later, you may inadvertently start a whole nother case, and it just complicates the situation. So if you call back and you say, I'm calling in regards to tracking number such and such, then they will, in theory, route you to the correct person who was helping you last time. If you don't have that information, you run the risk of starting over and getting transferred to some bozo in another country who does not know what you're talking about. So the more information you have, the better. So they won't give this to you unless you ask. So it's vital that you ask for that. Also, specifically ask what actions they are taking. They would like to tell you the things you need to do, but I like to end the conversation with, okay, so after we hang up the phone call, what is it that you are going to do to proceed in this case along? For instance, okay, Jocelyn, if that's her name, what are you going to do today on this case? Are you going to refer it somewhere? Are you going to talk to another supervisor? And then I will write down what she said she will do. And that's all documented. Now, this is probably the most important tip besides writing everything down. Just because they say something on the phone was approved or something was authorized, if you don't get it in writing or some sort of confirmation in writing, it never happened. Just pretend that the phone call never happened and the person you talk to has never been born, is never on the earth. You have to get it in writing. And if you have something verbally on the phone, you've got to call back and you've got to confirm and make sure they're going to send you something in writing. Now, do not delete any voicemails. Sometimes they will leave voicemails and they will give you the verbal confirmation on the phone, but they will, speaking from experience, they will tell you, nope, that never happened, that voicemail never happened, and you've got to have proof that you got the authorization, you got the approval, the doctor verified the procedures, whatever. Now listen, here's one of the reasons why my sister asked me to make this video, because this particular tip is what saved my family. In about a 4-minute phone call, it saved my family about $6,000 more. I'm still kind of adjusting that, but about $6,000. So when you're on hold within a company, you always hear, this call may be monitored for quality control purposes. So that recording helps you as well as it helps them. If you have been recorded in most of the 50 states, including California, if you're recorded, they have to tell you that the conversation is being recorded. So that means there's some sort of proof of this phone call. So for instance, I was going through and I was getting authorization for certain doctors and certain procedures. I did everything right. I got the person's name. I got the authorization. We went ahead with the procedures. The doctor's name was listed on the website as being an authorized provider in network. 6 months later, I go back. The doctor's name is no longer on the website, and my insurance company was saying, nope, you never got approval, and that doctor is not in network, and you owe us an additional $6,000 to $7,000. And it should not have been anything. So I said, okay, well, I would like to talk to the person who I talked to 6 months ago, and I would like to hear the phone call that I was on that we got authorization from you. And at that point, the person I was talking to had to transfer me to a supervisor, and it was obvious that the phone call that I had triggered something, and she wasn't really sure what to do at that point. She put me on hold, and about 30 seconds later, she came back on and she said, oh, we're so sorry. We re-listened to the call, and you're right, you did get authorization, and we will reverse all charges. So in about a 4-minute phone call, I got $6,000 back for my family. Just because I called their bluff and I said, no, try again, let me hear that phone call where your representative approved this doctor. And if I hadn't had that information, I would be out $6,000 that I don't have. So again, write everything down and use that phone call back in case they magically forget that you had already gotten the approval. So a different part of dealing with insurance is once you're actually admitted into the hospital, then you get a whole nother aspect of dealing with insurance and billing. So once you're admitted into the hospital, I would say the number one tip is just assume that everything that is being done is not covered. Just assume it. Even if you're in the hospital that's approved and you're in network and the doctor's in network and the nurses are in network and the phlebotomist, whatever, just assume that everything is not covered and you are paying cash for everything out of pocket. When you have that mindset, you're more cautious to accept procedures. So, for instance, anything that you can get done in a hospital that you can also get done outside of the hospital with your primary care physician, do it later. Don't do anything in the hospital that is not absolutely medically necessary. I mean, I'm talking about your insides are falling out on the table and that needs to get handled right away. But if you need to get a flu shot or you have a temperature or anything that's in the hospital where you're already admitted and they're like, oh, while you're here, why don't you get this so-and-so? Absolutely not. say I'll get it later with my primary care physician. It will cost you between 5 and 8 times as much in the hospital, and that will, they're going to get you there. So for instance, when I was in the hospital with my second son, they were drawing blood, and I should have stopped them and said, what are you doing? What tests are you running? I want to know what this is for. But I wasn't paying attention, and that was my bad. They drew my blood, and they ran a crap ton of tests that I did not need, I did not ask for, and I did not approve because the doctor deemed them medically necessary. I've got almost no recourse to get that money back, and I'm being charged thousands of dollars for tests that would have cost maybe $40 at Walgreens or free at other clinics. So do not approve anything in the hospital and be very cautious. So there's a whole bunch of other tips that I was thinking about sharing, but it's almost the end of nap time and I've got to wrap it up. But I wanted to just say, the more organized you are, the more money you will bring back for your family. Vice versa. The more disorganized you are, the more money you're going to leave on the table. So I don't know about you, but I don't have a few extra $1,000 just laying around to just give to the insurance companies. So be organized, be confident, write everything down, and hopefully these tips helped you. Like I said in the beginning, if this can help just one family get some money back, then I'm thrilled. So again, hope this is helpful. And there's that cute baby. He does not fit in that chair at all. Have a great day.